Hello all. So here we are ready to move towards the second part of unit number 5, which is ubiquitous computing privacy. In the first part we had seen data collection and processing are core components of Ubicom technology. That is why privacy issues are of utmost importance in Ubicom world. So our aim is to build privacy aware or privacy compliant Ubicom systems. That is why it is important to understand the nature of privacy that we have gone through. We have also gone through Solow's privacy taxonomy. We have seen some borders which if crossed can be termed as privacy violations. So now we are going to understand the privacy enhancing technologies. So basically, privacy enhancing technologies can be roughly classified into two sets: transparency tools and opacity tools. So the meaning of word opacity is quality of lacking transparency. So here more traditional security approaches, which are named as support for authentication and confidentiality, are tried to implement. So traditional communication link encryption, for example secure socket layer, that is SSL, or secure shell, that is SSH, that prevent an attacker from learning the contents of communication are used. So these are used for securing connections between web clients and web servers. SSL is now replaced by TLS, which is transport layer security, which is widely used for securing online transaction, providing both authentication and encryption. Now this also can be complemented by unobservability tools that attempt to prevent attacker from even learning that a communication took place. So our first aim is to prevent attacker from knowing that communication is taking place, and even if attacker comes to know that communication is taking place and it is trying to hack the contents, then with the help of these protocols we can hide the contents of communication. So next we have got identity management tools. So these tools attempt to disconnect identity from authority, that is allowing a user to prove his or her authority to access a resource without revealing identity. So for accessing some contents from college websites where the rights have been differentiated for teachers and students, so whenever I log into the system, it is not necessary for me to provide my other credentials. It is just important to mention there as I am a teacher. So the role is only described in identity management tools instead of providing all the other details for that person. Next we have got transparency tools. So these tools are there to complement opacity tools. So here transparency tools attempt to improve the data subject's understanding and control of her data profile. So here we are going to see some of the characteristics of transparency tools. So these give information on intended collection, storage, data processing of data subject. So here either it is given to data subject or it might be given to proxy which is acting on behalf of the data subject. Now what can happen here is we can enhance the data subject's privacy. So I know whenever information from my side is collected, how it is collected, where it is kept, these all details are notified to the user. It also provides the data subject with access to stored data or to logic of data processing in order to enhance the data subject's privacy. So second thing which it can provide is how it is stored, and also the access to the submitted information is also provided. Third thing which it provides is counter profiling capabilities for a data subject or a proxy acting on behalf of the data subject in order to guess how her data match relevant group profiles that may affect her risks and opportunities. So here we can have n number of examples. So Facebook gives me suggestions on friends to be added to the list. So same way transparency tools work. So what it can do is it can provide the areas which can affect the risk, which can affect my privacy, and it can also open the opportunities uh, by which I can enhance the privacy. So transparency tools and opacity tools combinedly can be used to enhance the privacy. Then we have got set of policy tools also. These tools use a similar approach in storage systems in order to allow for the privacy compliant data processing of personal information. So what can happen here is the data is stored in some application. So along with that data, metadata is also provided, which can describe say for example allowed recipients, uses of that data, storage duration for which the data is there. So by providing this information, it can help the application to restrict the usage of that data. Now, even though policy tools are there, transparency tools are there, opacity tools are there, these can be applicable as it is to Ubicom world, that we have to see. So that we are going to understand with the help of some examples. So the first example which we can have is having RFID tags. So we know that RFID technology is considered as the most prominent Ubicom technologies. I can give you some brief information about the term IoT first. The term IoT was first coined by British entrepreneur Kevin Ashton in 1999 while he was working at AutoID Labs. So referring specifically to a global network of objects which were connected by RFID. So this is how RFID came into picture, and now we know that RFID is used in many scenarios. So we know that it can be used in say for example consumer products in showcase supermarkets. It can be used for as implants for entering clubs. It can also be used as security feature of electronic passport. So this is how we have got RFID's usage widespread. That is why it is important to consider privacy of RFID tags. So it is important to us to protect RFID tags. Now to understand how it can be protected, first we have to understand how the privacy can be violated in terms of RFID tags. So the first option is clandestine scanning. So here what can happen is the tag data is scanned without the tag carrier's consent. So for example, by revealing the contents of bags that one cannot see through, or directly, or by having the look at what the person has bought. So what is the problem is, if several clandestine scans are pooled, clandestine tracking can reveal a data subject's movements along a tag reading infrastructure. So this can create problem in getting the location of that user. So this is how it can create problem in location privacy of that user. Then is the eavesdropping. So eavesdrop on the reader to tag channel or even tag to reader channel can happen. So the thing is the eavesdropper can receive the IDs of the tags being read due to employed anti-collision protocols that we are going to go through. So basically any person with malicious intent can hack the channel itself and can read the communication taking place between reader to tag or vice versa. The third problem is data leakage. So we know that reading information from tag is very easy. So what can happen is the reader can read more information from a tag than necessary. So this can threat to all data gathering applications, but RFID transaction renders this highly because it is relevant to this context. So these are the three ways by which privacy of RFID tags can be violated. Now we are going to understand the challenges which can come while handling the privacy issue of RFID tags. So we have got basically 4 challenges, and then we have got 2 novel challenges in this area. So first is automation. We know that reading RFID tag does not require any help of the person who is carrying the tag, or we do not require any manual intervention on behalf of the reader. So simple reader gates can easily scan large number of tags, making data acquisition much easier for intended or unintended readers. Then is the question of identification. So the ability to identify individual items instead of only whole classes of items significantly improves the ability to identify an individual. So we cannot classify the tags so that each reader reads the different set of tags. This cannot happen. If there is a reader, it is going to read all kinds of tags, and because it is reading many tagged items, it is very much easier to identify and relate those tags and identify the identity of an individual. Then is the question of integration. There are two cases here. The first is reader is not knowing that its data is read. Okay, so there is a reading is happening that can be hidden from the tag carrier, one thing, and also second thing is that the reader does not know whichever items it is carrying, how many of them are having the tag attached to it. So the two cases here are reader does not know that it is getting read because of the tag, and it does not also know how many items which it is carrying is having the tag associated with it. So if this two can be combined, then lots of information for that user can be read by the reader. Then comes the problem of authentication. Now automation, identification, integration can become crucial if we have got sensitive information. Now we know that nowadays in many areas these tags are getting used. So for example, payment details, health information, biometric data, everything is carried on the tag. So if that all is collected together, then authentication can also be hampered with the help of reader who is reading the tags. Now there are two novel challenges which we are going to discuss. The first is limited resource. Now even if we want to have the encryption mechanisms like AES or public key systems applicable in area of RFID tags, what prevents is, we know that like small devices which are there in Ubicom world like sensor nodes, RFID tags are also having very limited computational capacity. Now even if I want to apply these algorithms, due to this limited computational capabilities, I cannot use these algorithms here. The second problem is, in order to authenticate an authorized party against an RFID tag, some shared secret must exist between the two. But because of potentially hundreds or thousands of tags, it is very much difficult to remember which particular secret belongs to which tag. So choosing a key becomes a problem here because hundreds of items are carrying the RFID tags. If it would have been scenario that I am carrying the RFID tag only for passport, then this usage was applicable, but with hundreds of tags, this key selection becomes a problem. Now because we have understood the challenges, we are going to see some solutions also, the technologies which can enhance the privacy of RFID, and we are also going to see the limitation of how it can be applied. So the first is communication confidentiality. We know that communication is happening between reader to tag and tag to reader. So what we can do is, we can encrypt the wireless communication channel between RFID tag and a reader. This can be considered as obvious solution. So a large body of work in the crypto community specifically is targeting low power and low complexity ciphers and RFID chips used in e-passports or contactless train passes typically employ some sort of communication encryption. With key selection also this was a problem, that this cannot be applicable to all the tags, because if hundreds of tags are there, then this solution cannot work. Then we are going to understand anti-collision protocols. Now to understand this, we have to see how basically RFID works. So RFID technology uses radio frequency in order to identify tags, which are small sticks attached to objects that wish to be identified. This is the purpose. So the RFID system operates with a reader sending and receiving information from numerous tags in the interrogation range of its antenna at the same time. That is, the reader broadcasts messages using electromagnetic waves to tags in the interrogation area while receiving responses from the tags through backscattering. Therefore, a multi-access arbitration procedure is necessary in order to prevent responses from being garbed, that is, confused or distorted. So when one or more than one tag transmits simultaneously to a reader, their backscattered signals cancel each other out. This can result in illegible messages by the reader. This is called as collision. Now, the reader will be unable to distinguish these signals. That is why this is termed as tag collision problem. Now to avoid this, anti-collision protocols are used where RFID readers first singularize a tag before they can read from it. That is, it must determine which tags are present in its range, and then it addresses exactly one of them with the command. Now there are two ways by which we can identify the tag. One is use of unique ID, which is given to tag every time for the communication. Now with the use of unique ID, what problem can occur is rug readers can simply perform a round of singularization, and thus they are able to track individual tags even if the tag payload is encrypted. So this is how problem with unique ID can occur. The second is use of randomized UID for each reader session. So some RFID anti-collision protocols offer variants where UID is randomized for every reader session. So whenever a tag enters the field of a reader, it chooses new UID and it uses only until it leaves the field again. So this is going to increase the price because each tag needs to include a pseudo-random number generator for this. But if this PRNG, that is pseudo random number generator, is well implemented, tracking tags by their UIDs will be much more harder. So these are the two ways which can be used. Next we are going to understand this binary tree walking protocol. Now many of the RFID systems, high performance RFID systems, are using the first solution, that is fixed UIDs in their anti-collision protocol in order to lower read out times, because if we use PRNG every time, then it is going to increase the time. So what happens here, as you can see in the diagram, reader tags are read with the help of some queries. So if it gives this query as star, it is going to reply with these three tags. So collision occurs. Then it is going to add one more bit here. So with 0 star, again it is going to reply with these three tags and collision occurs. So again it is changing the length of query with 00 star. Then we are getting only single tag in response. So this is how the tag reader is able to singularize the tag. So next time what it does is it backtracks. Now instead of this last 0, it has changed it to this 1, and now it is going to fire the query. But with this also collision is taking place. So again it will increase the length of the query bit. So with 3 bits, again now it is getting the single tag. Again it backtracks. Now instead of this 0, it gives this 1, and it is getting only one tag in response. So this is how binary tree walking protocol works. It is called as this binary tree walking protocol because this behavior is seen as traversing a binary tree in which the individual bit positions are the branches and tags are considered as the leaves, as you can see in the diagram. So this is how we have singularized these three tags. So no collision has taken place in this. Now with this, an attacker can overhear the prefixes sent from a reader to its tag, and thus they may infer many partial UIDs of the tags present. So what solution we can provide is here is the reader has to traverse the tree one bit at a time. That is, the reader never explicitly sends any prefixes, but it uses only the command transmit next bit. So what can happen is tags in turn only reply with the nth bit of their UID, not with their full UID. So as long as the corresponding bit positions of all available tags are identical, no collision is going to take place, and reader is able to clearly receive the common bit prefixes building up incrementally. So this is the solution which we can provide for having the problem of attacker creating the problem in reading the contents. Now another solution we can provide is blocker tag to jam readers that attempt to traverse UID trees. So such a blocker tag uses two antennas to simply send both zeros and ones for each reader query. So this can create collision at each branch of the tree. Now with this the impression of hundreds of tags can be created which are present, and then in effect fully stall even the fastest reader. Now difficulty of this approach lies in the controlling the range of tags that are being blocked. So otherwise a single blocker tag could accidentally disable any RFID tree based RFID system it comes close to. So these were the solution to this collision anti-collision protocols. The next solution is very simple, which is for preventing access control. As you can see in the diagram, what can happen is a simple means of metal mesh or foil can be used to enclose the tag. Now with the inclusion of RFID tags into passports, a number of vendors are offering coated sleeves for protecting the passport while not in use. So this is nice. My passport is having RFID tag enabled in it. Now I am crossing many reader gates, but I do not want to reveal my passport information to any of them. So I am keeping them enclosed in this shield, metal shield. So whenever I know that this is the gate where I want to make the entry, so then only I am going to open it and I am allowing reader to read it. But the problem with this approach is that this can be applicable to identity proofs system, but with say for example shopping bags which I am carrying, so hundreds of items I have which are RFID tag enabled. In that case this solution will not work. Then we have got the solution which is called as ID based hash locks. So here some form of password can be used with each tag, which allows readers that use the right password to read out any data from the tag. So we can create hash locks here. So as you can see in the diagram, RFID tag is by default open and readable, that we know, but it can be locked by sending it a lock command with a password. The tag is then going to create a hash of this password, and then it only is going to reply to a query if an unlock command is sent that when hashed matches the stored hash value, as you can see in the diagram. So we have got this lock mechanism and unlock mechanism applicable here. This solution feels very simple, but it is going to fall again into the problem of key selection which we have already discussed. So here problem is how would a reader or user is going to know which password to use with which tag. Now while individual passwords work well for a single account or special items like an RFID based health card or passport, this seems unlikely that one would be able to remember hundreds of passwords for the individual grocery items one buys each day. So this solution also is having its area limited. Then we have got the next solution as proxies. So here we can have the device which is going to manage our tagged items. So what we can do is we can incorporate an RFID reader into a commodity consumer device like our mobile phone or a wristwatch which we carry everywhere. So this device can act as a proxy for all tag interactions, individually blocking or allowing access to its owner's tagged items. So this can act like a smart blocker tag, setting individual passwords on item bought in the supermarket or resetting those items if given to others. So the example, there are many solutions proposed in this area. One solution which is actually implemented is known as Privacy Guardian, which was implemented at Free University at Amsterdam. So as you can see in the diagram, so this is the hardware part of it. This is the mobile device, and this is how the menu are set here. So we can create a scan for the tags in the vicinity, control access to them, and log readout attempts and successes of other readers. So we can know who has tried to read my tag. So the Privacy Guardian works similar to a blocker tag, jamming the channel whenever a third party reader attempts to access a protected tag. Now this only works, however, for a particular set of RFID protocols in which tag replies are deterministic, that is where their UIDs determines when they will reply to a reader inquiry. So this is how we have seen many solutions in the line of how we can protect the RFID tag. I have also shared various documents which are having number of solutions by which we can protect the privacy of RFID tags that you can access through Google Classroom. So to summarize, we can say Ubicom challenges privacy due to its novel technical capabilities that we have seen, its large coverage area, novel types of data which is collected, VEC collection purposes, we do not know for what purpose the data is getting collected, and NVIDIA data interchange which take place between various devices which are there communicating with each other. So we have seen that standard technological fixes are there. We have seen opacity and transparency tools here, but they are not going to fully cover the many peculiarities of Ubicomp applications. So we have considered RFID as one of the examples there. RFID applications envision highly automated environments that allow for the unobtrusive detection of tagged artifacts and implicitly the people who are carrying them. So due to the high number of items and the lack of user interface, offering users to control who can read what tags is very much difficult. So the low resources available on passive RFID tags additionally challenge the use of traditional security protocols. So whatever solutions and challenges we have seen that were limited to the area of passive RFID tags. You remember it well. So this is how we have covered our 5th unit. Thank you.